I'm really intrigued by this question that you asked. What's love got to do with it? What does love have to do with pain and illness and disease?
From my experience, the insights I've had through the three principles of understanding that have taken me to a knowing of what we are all made of, or the energy that we all consist of, which I mean, love for me is just a word, but the insights that I've had that have pointed me towards that knowing that we are made of love has been, every time I've touched that place, I have had a physical shift. There's something that has shifted energetically in my body for the better. And sometimes those shifts have been very, very powerful, to the degree that where, the day before I was finding it difficult to walk, the next day or straight after the insight, I was practically running down the corridor. And for me, there's also something about the quality of love, or the essence of what that energy is made of, that is way beyond anything I could come up with. So I know when I'm touching that space that I'm not in charge. And I know ultimately, I know I'm not in charge of my own healing. And I mean, for me, that space, the space of entering the space of it's not entering the space of love, but it's entering the knowing that we're made of love. For me, is the same place that healing comes from. So it's this, love and healing are the same.
That's so beautiful. Love sounds like much more than a word to you now. And it just seems to me that we fall in and out of remembering that we are love. We fall in and out of knowing, that deep knowing that we can't be more love. We can just be more aware, more conscious of the love that we already are. And I remember a time when, like, loving my symptoms, or loving discomfort, or loving parts of me that I didn't really particularly care for, just felt like a foreign concept that I could never wrap anything around. Or nor that I didn't want it to wrap anything around. And it wasn't until I had the experience of loving those parts, all of me, that I had the experience of the change, the transformation of the healing.
Mm. I mean, for me, I mean, I think before, as you say, it's down to experience. Before I experience myself or experience the fact of being made of love, before I'd experienced that in a tangible way, or in an embodied way, or in a physical, you know, it's like experiencing it kind of physically. Before that, then it's an idea. You know, it's a good idea to love your symptoms, or it's a good idea to love the parts you don't want to love. And that for me was always a little bit, you know, it's like I was being told to do that, and I didn't feel good enough because I wasn't able to love, or didn't want to love bits of me that were I had something against. and
It was counterintuitive
it's kind of totally counterintuitive. And for me, what's been beautiful is the place of love, or the being love, goes way beyond the specifics. So I don't have to love the bits of me. It's just that the bits of me are no longer an issue. That, you know, it's like you know, when a tsunami comes past a building or whatever, it's like, you know, if the symptom is the building, the tsunami is just the tsunami of love.
Wow.
Doesn't have to think about the building.
Yeah, that's great. What a great metaphor.
Yeah.
Right. Because that loving those parts didn't come from like an efforting, a
No.
process or technique of learning to love them. It came as the tsunami of love.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, not the, you know, it doesn't have to focus on the particular, because it's unconditional.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really meaningful to have a distinction between loving the specific, because I don't think that I actually, it was the result of seeing something new. It was a result of a shift in consciousness that I loved those parts. It wasn't because I thought that if I loved those parts hard enough, deep enough, that that's something I needed to do in order to have a different experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Mick, I'm really looking forward to exploring what love has to do with pain and illness, with others. Our exploration in our conversations continues to deepen my grounding of this understanding, as well as have an impact on how I experience my own healing journey. And you and I know the power of our small group conversations and the insights that we witness from each other.